Well, great. And welcome everyone today to today's Lunch and Learn with Dan and myself. So we're going to kick right into the presentation. This is for retail business owners to give them some great strategies and some cost saving ideas in their business. Would you like to add anything, Dan?
No, listen, it's a very interesting time for retail right now, right? I mean, we're all as things are coming out of some of the COVID situations going on right now. The amazing thing is that retail is headed for a tremendous surge in growth and in profitability. That is, if things are structured the right way, right? So it's not a slam dunk. It's not just we'll open a store and you'll immediately make money. You got to understand some of the basic concepts of it, and you got to understand how to operate a retail store. Hoping, with you, Steve, to share some of the important business concepts today that people who are operating retail stores need to know and apply to their businesses so they can be not only profitable while this surge happens, but even, ongoingly for years and years to come.
Right. It's great to build it, but you also got to think long term sustainability. And I think a lot of business
Exactly.
owners forget about that little part. Well,
Exactly. So, okay.
excellent. So we're going to start off. Dan's going to take off the first half here and show you some phenomenal things. And for
All
those of
right.
you
So
that
let
don't
me,
know Dan, I mean, he's been working in retail for over 40 years and all kinds of retail from major chains such as Walmart down to like single store mom and pop operations. He's worked within all sectors of retail, but he specializes in really helping retailers remain profitable through merchandise planning and how to open to buy. So when he's not doing that, this is amazing as well. He's also an actor, and you probably have seen him on tons of commercials around the US. And he also played Larry David's lawyer on Curb Your Enthusiasm. Folks, welcome, Dan.
all right, let me get my screen share going here. There we go. So, Steve, you can see that, right? So, I'm sure that
Yes.
we're beautiful. Okay, here we go. All right. So thank you for that introduction, Steve. Appreciate that. And I'm looking forward to doing your introduction later today. One of the things I learned from your introduction is I could do a better job at writing my introductions. So you gave me some homework there, but here we go. All right. So what I want to talk about today is how to get cash out of your retail business by doing just three simple little things. They're just three little tweaks that you can actually do to improve your retail business. The interesting thing about retail is that retail is actually this the other people have said this before. Retail is detail. It's the sum of doing a lot of little things right, right? And so that's a big piece of what we do here. So first, a little bit more about me. Uh, um, like Steve said, I've been in the retail business over 40 years, and we really focus on cash flow, and we focus on how does a retail store actually turn their inventory well and make money doing what they're doing. And we're very, very pleased with the progress we're making. We work with retailers today in 16 different countries, and hopefully by the end of next week, I'm going to add two more, believe it or not. So we work with different retailers all around the world in all different ways, in all different sectors, and that kind of thing. But the main thing is like, how do we make sure the inventory is right, so that the sales are right, so that we actually cash out of those goods and actually are prepared for next season. And yeah, there I am with Larry David in that little picture at the bottom. And also, there's a picture of me doing a Facebook commercial I did last year. And I've got some more stuff coming that way too. But the lion's share of what I do really is focused on inventory and retail and making retailers money. And that's my favorite thing to do. Actually, I don't even consider it work. I really enjoy doing it. So, the today's webinar is actually based on a book that was written a long time ago by a guy named Russell Conwell, and the book is called Acres of Diamonds. And in this book, he encourages people to dig in your own backyard to find those diamonds. And what does that mean in terms of a retail store? Sometimes when I talk to retailers, I go, so where's your growth going to come from? Where's the improvement in the business going to come from? And sometimes it's things like, well, we're going to add more stores, or I have another line that I've added, or I've got another I'm going to hire more salespeople, or something like that. And if you notice, all of those things are external to the business. They're all outside of the business. But Russell Conwell invites you to look internally inside the business to find where those diamonds are. And so everything I'm going to talk to you about today are all things that you can look internally inside your business to find better revenue and better profitability by managing the costs better. Okay, so here we go. Now, what I'm going to show you in this whole thing, by the way, are all elements of retail that are not theory. These are examples from real stores that we are working with, okay? These are their numbers. that are based on their actual results. We consulted with them certainly, but this is them doing the work, actually, them applying a lot of these concepts to what they're doing. And they are all concepts that any one of you that are operating a retail store can apply right now without buying anything else, by the way. So here we go. All right, so a couple of rules of the road here before we get started. First of all, got to be willing to do a couple of things. First off, you got to be willing to look at some key metrics, right? So you can't improve what you don't measure. So you've got to be able to look at certain stats that I'm going to talk about during this presentation. And certainly if you're having trouble finding those stats or collecting those stats or understanding how to calculate those stats, I want you to reach out to me or to Steve, by the way. Steve can help with that too. But we're here to help you figure those things out. You also have to be willing to change, right? There's that old saying, if you do what you've always done, you will get less. That's the truth, especially now. And you also have to be willing to act, even if you make a decision and fail. That's far better than not making any decisions at all. Okay, so got to be willing to do those couple of things as we start to attack this. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the financial elements of a retail business, although this is true for any business, right? There are two kinds of expenses. There are fixed expenses and variable expenses, right? Fixed expenses are things that don't change. Typically, rent doesn't change month in and month out. Your insurance doesn't change month in and month out, that kind of thing, right? And then there are variable expenses, things that change as you sell more or sell less, right? Commissions will be that way. Store supplies will be that way, those kinds of things. Credit card expenses, merchant fees and that kind of thing, right? And without getting into too deep of the financial stuff of that or the complexities of that, I want to talk about one financial statistic that I think is hugely important, and that's selling cost. Selling cost. Okay, what does it cost you to sell product? Okay, so it's defined as the total payroll you paid divided by the net revenue generated by that payroll. And I really want you to think of this, by the way. Okay, I want you to think of this in terms of each individual salesperson. And by the way, when I talk about the payroll, okay, I'm not talking about benefits. I'm not talking about taxes. I'm talking about just what you paid your payroll people, okay? So if I have an employee and their salary in the month of January was $1,700, okay, and that same employee produced $12,500 in sales, okay, their selling cost is $1,700, what I paid them, divided by the $12,500, which is 13.6%. So you want to measure this by sales associate and by store if you've got multiple stores, and you want to do it weekly, monthly, and annually. All right. So there you go. What we paid them divided by what they sold. Some of you are going to tell me, I'm not set up to do that. We want you to set up your point of sale to actually make that happen so that you can actually record that. Okay. Now watch what happens here. Okay. In an actual store that I'm working with, okay, their total expenses are 42% of their sales. Fixed expenses are 23%. Variable expenses are 19%, and their selling payroll was 12% of that. So we said, okay, well, what if I could just improve that by 2%, just 2%, nothing more, okay? So a 2% increase in expenses actually increases the profit by 3.4%, but I want you to see it in terms of actual numbers because that's where it makes a difference, okay? So they were doing $750,000 roughly in sales, okay? Fixed expenses, 172,493, and you'll see that doesn't change, right? Whether it's in the original or the improved situation doesn't change. But we improved their variable expenses from 142 down to 127 just by improving their selling expenses by 2%. As a result, their profit before cost of goods goes from 435 up to 450, or $15,000 of improvement just by improving those variable expenses. Okay, so how'd they do it? How'd they improve that by 2%? They just got smarter in terms of scheduling, and they put together a commission plan that actually was more effective because it actually paid them based on what they were really doing. Okay, so by doing that, you improve that. Now, let me just say something about that $15,000 that you see there. Okay, that's not that elusive profit and loss money that shows up there, but you don't get to see where that is. Okay, that is actual cash that is spendable by you as the owner of the business. Okay, and all you have to do first off is you have to first look at it and go, okay, well, what does that mean? What really is my selling expense? Okay, and can I do better in terms of my scheduling? Can I do, what does my commission plan look like? And am I paying people the right way for the right things? Is all that happening the right way? Okay, and again, we can guide you through that. Okay. Now, one of my stores actually did even more than that. Not only did they look to improve their selling cost by 2%, they actually also motivated the store manager and they said, what if we got you a 5% bonus for improving revenues by 5%? Okay. Watch what happens now. Okay. So the first two columns you've seen, okay, 750, right? And the fixed expenses are the same all the way across the board. But my variable expenses went down from 142 to 127. That was in that last slide. Now they go up a little bit because I had a 5% increase in revenue. So my selling costs went up. It still wasn't as high as what it was when we started. Okay. So profit below cost of goods, 435 up to 450, now up to 481 because of the 5% increase in revenue, right? Fixed expenses didn't change. My variable went up a little bit. So now it produces a $46,000 improvement in profit, 10% improvement, right? That's an unbelievable number, isn't it? Okay. But there it is. Okay. And it's there just by getting sharper on your selling costs. Okay. So my first of the 3 tweaks that I'm going to share with you is that one. Look at your selling cost. Look at where it's wasteful. Look where it doesn't make sense. Try and improve it just by 2%. By the way, improving selling costs by 2% does not mean I'm firing every long-term I have, every long-term employee I have, and I'm going to actually now I'm going to replace them by minimum wage workers. It's not that at all. Okay. It's just finding ways to improve your schedule. Do you have to do things a particular way? Am I overloaded in certain places? 2% is not a big number, but it is a number that's achievable. Okay. Okay, that's the first one. Now, the second tweak I want to share with you has to do with markdowns. Now, markdowns is one of your top 3 expenses aside from rent and payroll. Okay. Typically, for most retail stores, they run between 12 and 20%. Okay. But understanding and improving your markdowns is a critical piece of managing your retail business better. Now, here's the thing. Okay. If most clothing stores have an initial markup of 55%, that's what I'm showing there, right? So here's a store, again, in the 750 range. And they had noticed that their markdowns were 21%, pretty high, right? So, okay, what if I could improve that by 2%? You get the theme, right? We're trying to just make 2% improvements here. It's not a lot, okay? But if I do that, then instead of spending $157,000 in markdowns, I only spend 142, which means that my gross profit picks up an entire point from 45% to 45.5% to 46.5%, or from $441,000 to $348,000. It's an improvement roughly of about $7,500, right? Now you can go, okay, well, yeah, sure, do less markdowns. Thanks for that tip, Dan. Gee, wish I had thought about that. Okay. But here's the thing about markdowns that's interesting. Okay. You improve your markdowns by understanding what causes them, right? And so this slide just has a couple of different reasons as to why that could happen. Maybe I got the goods late, and so I missed most of the season and I had to take markdowns. That's happening now a lot now, right? Because the supply chain is in sort of a mess these days, right? Maybe I bought beyond the demand, right? I don't understand my class structure well, my department class, subclass structure in my point of sale system. I need to do better at that. Maybe I'm not measuring my assortment well, okay? Am I too wide or too narrow? Maybe the buy was just bad. Okay, maybe I too broad of an assortment. I don't react early on when I see things are not selling well. I don't really have a strategy. I just sort of randomly take markdowns. My flow is off in terms of when the goods arrive. Any of those things are things you got to look at, and you could really break those down into some of them are selling markdowns, right? Like I brought in goods and my salespeople don't understand why I brought these goods in. Okay. Maybe they're not giving me any good feedback. Maybe half of that stuff gets left in the dressing room, which means the customers didn't care for it, right? And I just didn't pick up on that. They didn't tell me about that, okay? Maybe they don't know how to sell those things. Maybe I brought in a whole bunch of higher priced goods and my salespeople don't understand how to sell luxury sweaters, as an example, okay? Or all the other things that are on here that are buying things, right? Brought it in too late, brought it in too soon, didn't have enough of a markdown assortment. Suddenly, other categories weren't doing well, and I had to take markdowns to make cash flow happen, that kind of thing, right? But if you break it up into these causes and you look at that way, that's how you improve your markdowns. Now, if you take nothing else away from what I'm telling you today in my portion of the presentation, right? If you take nothing else away from it, this last line that's in red is a critical one. So if you take nothing else away, if you can apply that last sentence, you'll make more money, which is that every time you or your staff sell an extra item, you avoid a future markdown. Imagine that. if every time you sold an extra item, you avoided a future markdown. That alone would probably save you between 12 and 20% of your expenses right there. So think about that one. Okay. All right. Now, the third tweak has to do with how you purchase inventory. Okay. Now, the inventory that you buy for your stores is your biggest expense. It costs you more than anything else. We like to refer to it as a high risk asset, right? It's the best thing you have is your inventory, right? It's the thing that defines your store. It makes you who you are, right? But if you buy it wrong, okay, then it's the biggest disaster you have in your store. So, the interesting thing about the way you purchase retail inventory for retail resale is that small changes here may have big impacts on big impacts on your profitability and your selling. Okay, and the potential for improvement here is enormous. Okay, so there's a lot you can do here to make these things better. Okay, so let's go through some of these. Now, again, retail doing roughly about 750,000. It's a different retailer though. Okay, their purchases were 55% of their sales, and again, looking for that 2% improvement. Okay, if I get a 2% improvement in that, it goes from 55% to 53%, which means instead of buying $413,000 worth of inventory to do 751, I only buy 398. Okay, which again gets me another $15,000. Okay, now the interesting thing about improving your purchases and making your purchases better is you can't just go, that's it. Whatever order I write, I'm going to reduce it by 2%. Okay, that's not going to work. Okay, the thing is that you have to break your inventory up into the proper classifications, okay? And by breaking them into the proper classifications, okay, you can actually see what's working and not working, okay? And you can actually make a difference in the bottom line because you can't make a knee-jerk reaction here. You got to figure out which classes are growing and which ones aren't growing. You got to figure out which classes need maintenance, which ones, if fed, could make a big difference in your bottom line, okay? You got to figure out which classes are shrinking, and either we improve those or we get out of them. Okay, those are important pieces of the puzzle here, right? During COVID, we worked with a lot of our customers to stay away from dress shoes because we were all locked in our houses, right? But put them into things like active gear, sweatpants. Active footwear was another one that was really growing and all that, right? So you can't make sweeping cuts here. You have to dig into the details of this one. All right. So how do you do it? Well, it starts with a really good sales forecast. Okay. And good sales forecasting is not last year plus or minus a percentage. It's based on current trends. It's based on trends within the industry. It's based on where things are going. And certainly we cannot look at last year when we think about where we are now. Can't look at last year and try to figure out our forecasting from that. Can't even look at 2019. You got to look at where things have been trending in the first part of this year and where they're going to trend now. The other thing about these forecasts is they got to be by month, by category, and by location. Okay, kind of important. And you have to monitor them. One of the things I find that most people don't do in forecasting is they'll say what they want to do. They'll come up with a forecast, and I have to say sometimes I don't really love where those forecasts come from, right? Because they're just sort of like, well, last year we did, 2.2 million. We'll do 2.4 this year. Why? Just because I said so. Because my accountant said so. The reality is that the forecast has to be based on some level of reality. And in a retail store, each of those departments and classes are mini businesses within your business. You've got to consider that. But the other thing about it is that if you're going to create a forecast, what people don't do is monitor on a month-by-month basis. Did I actually hit that forecast? And if I didn't, why? Did I not buy into it? Did I buy too much of it? Did I hit my markdown plan? Did I hit my sales plan? Did I hit my inventory plan? Did I hit all three of those, right? Because that's going to be the basis of the profitability of the store, not just your sales forecast, but what did I forecast for markdowns, and did I actually do that? And what did I forecast for inventory as my investment in that, and did that work? That's an important one. Okay. After you forecasted your sales, yes, now you got to plan what your inventory is going to look like, right? The key to it, of course, is the stock to sales ratio. What that means is for every unit I sold, how much inventory did I have? So if I have a 3-to-1 stock to sales ratio, it means for every unit I sold, I had 3 units on the floor. It'd be great to have a 1-to-1 stock to sales ratio, but that's just not viable, right? You can't sell every dress you put on the floor. You've got to have an assortment out there for them to choose from. Okay. Now, your inventory plan also has to include an assortment plan broken down by vendor, maybe by color, basics versus fashion, that kind of thing. These are all part and parcel of putting your assortment together. So when your customer comes to the store, they see what's there. And of course, these assortments have to be based on how well you know your customer, right? How well do you understand the price points they're going to buy into? How well do you understand the color assortments that they like? Are they into fashion or are they more into basics, right? How many vendors do I need to have to actually tell the story well? Okay, you have to flow in new inventory every single month. Even during COVID, when it was the worst of the worst, our best customers trickled in a little bit every single month to keep things fresh and exciting and fun and that sort of thing. COVID was a very interesting selling exercise in that we discovered that a lot of people were still able to sell goods and do well throughout COVID. Okay, by flowing in something new and exciting, because while people were trapped in their houses, they still wanted something new and fresh and interesting and exciting to work on. Okay, and again, not only do we want to bring in new stuff and talk about that, we want to monitor and make sure that we're bringing in the right stuff. And did that inventory work and perform? And did I bring what I said I was going to bring in? And did it work? Are we monitoring the results of the inventory? Far too many people that I talk to run selling reports out of their point of sale system. They always run bestsellers and stuff like that, but they don't run inventory reports and they don't run receiving reports to see what's actually happening there. And that's where the money is made. Okay, so that's actually my first tip on this next one, which is a few more tips. Okay, run more than just selling reports. Run an on-hand report. Run a receiving report. Figure out what's going on there. Okay, I always tell people to look at this other stat called cash margin, which I'm going to talk about for a moment here. Okay, very quickly. Let's say you sit with a vendor and you say, I'm going to spend $2,000 with that vendor. Okay, and if you're an apparel retailer, you say, I'm going to spend $2,000 with that vendor, but I'm hoping to get $5,000 in sales, marking up 2.5 times. Not an unusual number in retail, right? So if I'm going to sell for $5, I bought it for $2, my cash margin should be $3,000. But now I'm going to look at what did I actually sell. So let's just pretend I only sold $4,000, not the $5,000. Well, I still wrote a check to the vendor for $2,000, right? So my cash margin there is only $2,000, not the $3,000 I had planned, right? So you can look at that and develop something called a vendor scorecard to figure out, okay, well, where did it work? Where did it not work? Why? And what do I do about that? Now, if you don't have a vendor scorecard and you don't know what one looks like and you don't know how to create one, okay, again, I want you to reach out to me after this and I'll spend an hour with you for free to help you figure that out. But that's an important piece of this, okay? Another tip, look at where you have old inventory, okay? If you've got inventory that's older than 6 months, it's no longer inventory. It's now gravity testers, right? It's boat anchors, okay? The reason is that if you have inventory for long stretches of time, basically it means that your customers looked at that inventory and went, yeah, no thanks. We like to say the vendor or the customer votes with their wallet. And if it's sitting around there, that means that they didn't vote for it. Now, you've got cash tied up in that. Cash that could go towards inventory that would be more viable and more purposeful for your store and actually turn faster and get you more money. So if you've got stuff that's older than January of this year, get out of it, okay, or older than 3 months or older than 6 months, figure out what that is and figure out what it's going to take to make that inventory go away. And my last tip on this slide, which I think is an important one too, is that expense control, while important, is not a long-term strategy for the growth and success of your business. Yes, it's important, okay? You still have to go and look at, okay, what am I paying for rent? What am I paying for payroll? What am I paying for marketing? What am I paying for all of these things, right? All those things are important, and you've got to manage those things. You've got to look at those things, okay? But if you notice, when you read a business publication, they talk about some business that's doing amazing, unbelievable business and doing great, have great growth. You know what they don't do? They don't go to that business's accountant and say, well, I saved 8% on shipping, right? That's not where the growth of the business comes from. It comes from planning your selling. It comes from planning your inventory. It comes from looking at how you're going to grow and market your business, okay? So you want to control these expenses for sure, but it's not where the growth of the business is going to come from. Okay, so you've got to look at those pieces of it. All right. So if I recap the 3 tweaks that we talked about here, right? Our selling cost improvement of 2% got us $15,000. Okay, our markdown improvement of 2% got us another $7,500, and then another $15,000 improvement came by buying better and buying smarter and forecasting our selling and forecasting our inventory better. All of these together add up to more than $37,500 on businesses doing roughly $750 a year by doing the exact same volume. You know all those things that you want to do with the business, all the things you want to buy that you think you can't afford? I just found the cash for you, okay? That's what we're talking about when we talk about diamonds in your own backyard, okay? So, the lingering remaining thought in this whole thing here is like, think about how can I improve my selling cost by 2%? How do I measure and improve my markdowns by 2%? Where are they coming from? What am I doing? What's creating them? Okay. How do I improve my purchases? Am I forecasting my sales? Am I forecasting my inventory? If I'm not, how do I do that? And if I could do those things, if the business is 750 and does 37, what is your business doing? And if you could make those 2% improvements, what would that mean to your profitability and your bottom line? Okay. If you can't figure that out, my contact information will be at the end of this webinar, and I invite you to check that out. Okay. Now, I want to also give you these two little quotes that I'm very, very fond of. The top one is from Ben Franklin, believe it or not. It's actually from the foreword to Poor Richard's Almanac. Remember Poor Richard's Almanac? We used to talk about that in grade school all the time. So in Poor Richard's Almanac, it's a funny thing about this, okay? But here's what it is. The foreword takes place in colonial times, obviously, because it's Ben Franklin after all. And in colonial times, Ben Franklin actually has this little story in his foreword about all these retail stores that are gathering in the square someplace, okay? And they're concerned because the taxes are about to go up again. Oh my God, the taxes are going to go up a huge amount. What are we going to do as merchants? How do we figure this thing out? What do we do? And they finally turned to Father Abraham, who is the old wise merchant, old white-haired guy, the old Father Abraham, okay? And Father Abraham, they say, Father Abraham, what are we going to do with these taxes that are going to hit us? What are we going to do about this craziness with the taxes? We're going to spend all this, we're going to lose all this money in taxes. And Father Abraham responds with this quote, we are taxed twice as much by our idleness, 3 times as much by our pride, and 4 times as much by our folly. What does that mean? Okay, we're taxed twice as much by our idleness, by not doing anything, by not making changes to our business, by not trying the things I just gave you, looking for those 2% improvements in our selling costs, in our markdowns, and in our purchases. Okay, 3 times by our pride, which means I'm so proud of what I'm so egotistical by what I'm doing that I don't look and see if those things would make a difference. Okay, and 4 times as much by our folly. In other words, we believe things that aren't really true. Okay, like I can't improve my purchases. I can't do any better than what I'm doing right now. Like my selling costs can't get any better. Like I couldn't possibly do less in markdowns. Okay. Ben Franklin said it hundreds of years ago, and it's more true now than it ever was before. In fact, a lot of you that are retailers may have discovered that your inventory turnover is faster now than it has been, and that's because the supply chain is a mess right now, and you're turning goods faster. All that to say, though, why couldn't you have done that when the supply chain wasn't a mess, and why can't you continue to do that going forward? Okay. Well, all these are good ideas, and Peter Drucker says all good ideas degenerate into work, which means that now, if you're inspired at all by what I've just said to you, then guess what you have to do now? You now have to roll up your sleeves and figure out your selling costs. You have to roll up your sleeves and figure out your markdowns. You have to roll up your sleeves and look at your sales and your inventory by category to figure out where those things can improve, okay? If you need help with those things, call your Uncle Dan. That's what I'm here for. Okay. Now, I do want to also share with you these other couple things that we do just to keep everything clear in terms of where we can help you. So certainly, Retail Smart Guys is my company, and our signature product is something called RSG Planning, where we help you plan those sales and plan that inventory. And we look to try to get you at least a 5 times return on investment for that one. If you're not doing any kind of open to buy or merchandise planning, you should talk to me about that. Even if you are and you're not sure if it's working well, or even if you think it's working well and you'd like to do a litmus test, we'll do a litmus test for free and see if it's really doing what it should be doing, okay? We added 3 new services this year because I found that a lot of retail businesses were struggling with what I call administrative overhead. They're working on things that are heavy, time-consuming things that shouldn't take up your time. So one of them is bookkeeping. If you're used to using virtual bookkeeping, our virtual bookkeeping is the lowest lowest price guaranteed in the marketplace. So if you are not or want to, or if you are but you feel like it's expensive, you just talk to us about it. We've got an amazing army of people that are doing our bookkeeping. Same thing with purchase order entry. If you find that you go to trade shows, and guess what, retailers are starting to go to trade shows now. If you find that you're actually starting to see that you can go to those trade shows, and you're always struggling with getting your purchase orders entered into your point of sale system, we'll do it for you, and we'll do it for you at less than minimum wage. And look, you guys all know the importance of social media posting. If you want to do social media posting and you're finding that, gosh, you know what, my social media posting takes me forever, and it's keeping me from focused on the things that I talked about, like selling cost, improving your buying, and improving your markdowns. Okay, we'll do that for you also. So those three are all new services there, and we're certainly happy to help you with those things. Okay, so again, like I talked about, my office goes business. Okay, your number there, email, and I. If you will get a 24 hours every that's in my inbox. And the website is listed there. Please reach out if I can help your business at all. Take me up on the free hour of time to actually go through stuff with you and see how we can help you. And I hope you enjoy that. With that, Steve, I'm ready to turn it back over to you and have your presentation kick in there. But, I also want to thank Steve because, first off, besides being a brilliant business coach and just, super smart guy, Steve helped me organize this whole thing. And so I really appreciate that, Steve, and your organizational skills and that kind of stuff. And maybe now is the time I should introduce you, Steve. Should I do that right now?
Yeah, I got a few questions from some of the folks
do you? Okay,
on
all
the
right, let's do that then.
presentation. So
Okay.
some of them, I love the great examples on using financial data because your data doesn't lie. That's it.
Right.
That's what tells the
Right.
truth of your business. And I've used the Tom Peters line, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it, for years. And it's
That's right.
so true. And you proved that. One
Mhm.
question was,
Exactly.
what is the one area that I can look at to save money, a quick hit in my retail business?
Well, purchases is probably the most impactful place to do it. If you're not watching where you're buying and how you're buying it and when you're landing it and that sort of thing, if you're not working closely with vendors on your vendor scorecards and those kinds of things, then that's where I find the biggest that's the biggest, fastest impact that there is. Okay, but I'll give you another one too. That while we're here, I also work with another company, and reach out to me. My contact here, so if you want to know more about it. But you know how like you get that merchant statement from your credit card company, and it's the most unreadable document ever in the history of documents, right? There's so many layered charges in there that you can't figure out, like what does that even mean, And there are lots of tiny little ones that add up to all this money, and you can't figure it out. We actually work with a bunch of guys that actually know how to read that stuff and will audit that statement for you. Okay, and they do it for the first thing they do for you is free. So they'll actually read your merchant statements. They'll tell you, well, you know what? We see you're paying more than you should be for this stuff, and we think we can save you X amount of money. And if we can, we get half, you get half. How about that? Right? So no harm, no foul. And I actually found them through a client of mine that was actually working with them. I didn't discover them. They were working with one of my other clients, and they were saving him $600 a month, and he was doing like about $1.1 million, $1.2 million in sales. And so they actually picked up $600 a month just in credit card savings from those guys alone. So that's another one I'm a big fan of. But purchases is probably the best low hanging fruit I would probably go after on that one. So I'd look at purchases first.
Yeah, and the other thing was someone posted, they like the retail and detail financial chart you had. It kind of really made sense, and they're not a numbers person, is what they said.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. I find in most retail businesses, there's always like I'm the numbers guy. What I'm not is I'm not the fashion guy, as you can tell. So you can tell I'm not, they dress me for most of the presentations I do, but I'm the numbers guy. If you're a fashion person and you have a really great eye for stuff, that kind of stuff, but you don't love the numbers, you really got to partner with someone who does, to give you that guidance that, coupled with your vision, will be the difference in the bottom line for your business. So there you go.
So true. Find someone where your weaknesses is someone else's strengths and do it together.
And I'll take this moment to introduce Steve Feld, who, by the way, amongst other things, is amongst all the things that Steve is, he's MBA. He's a certified business coach. I mean, he himself, by the way, has implemented a bunch of businesses. Right? Has you've built, owned, and operated 6 businesses that are not just businesses; they're lucrative businesses. Right? So Steve has actually made money on his own, but has worked with hundreds of other businesses, okay, including some Fortune 500 companies, okay, and basically boosting divisions for those guys, okay. So he works globally and here within the U.S., okay, and hundreds of businesses look to Steve to help them basically gain. He does one thing really well, better than most people I know, and that is basically he helps people grow. He puts together solid strategic planning, and that strategic planning results in positive growth. And positive growth is not just top line growth. It also means that they make more money, that they're more profitable. I see lots of businesses that grow, but don't necessarily grow their profitability. They just have more top line revenue. Steve understands how to grow both the top line revenue and to manage the expenses to make that work really well for those businesses. So, and the breadth of his experience is enormous. So Steve has worked in all kinds of businesses, and so if you haven't at least let Steve do the audit that he does on your business, man, you want to let him do that for you, because that's an incredible eye-opening service that helps you figure out where your business is going. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Steve. I'm excited to hear what your presentation has to offer today. And like you did, I'll monitor the chat, and let's see if there's any questions that come up, and we'll roll from there.
Sounds great. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And it's amazing. I have owned and operated retail businesses and been involved in many other retail businesses, and I still learned a lot from your presentation. So it was really eye-opening and refreshing. I even won an award in one of my retail businesses for cost-saving strategies.
Wow.
Yeah, I took their cost of goods down from 35% down to 8%, actually increased the quality of merchandise and margin all at the same time, and renegotiated with all the vendors. So instead of net 210 net 30s, no, we are going to extend this out to as far out as 90 days. So it's been great.
Wow. Well, okay. So if nothing else, guys, I mean, you heard that. If that isn't a reason to listen carefully what Steve has to say, there is no other. So there we go.
That's it.
All right, Steve.
We're going to kick right into everything. So as Dan mentioned, I've owned and operated 6 different businesses, operated 3 others for Fortune 500 companies, and assisted, hundreds of business owners grow their business. And Dan brought up a lot of great points about the numbers. It's not on this slide, but my 5th book just came out regarding financial business breakthroughs for small business owners. Because one of the things I have seen, and Dan definitely has seen, is many small business owners do not understand their numbers. Your numbers tell a great story. You can make great decisions based on your numbers. You don't need to be a CPA or an MBA to understand it, but very simplistic ways of reading your financials. I have a couple case studies. I want to give you some meat and some juice to it, so I'm going to just go right over the case studies, talking about retail business, one of the ones we've helped. So what we're going to cover is 5 steps in massive profits. I'm going to actually just look at 4 different strategies. We have hundreds and hundreds of strategies to use, but I'm going to just focus on 4 for time. One of the things we look at is the 80-20 rule. So 20% of what you do every day is generating 80% of your revenue. Many small business owners, they don't realize how much time they're actually wasting on non-revenue productivity actions. This is one of the things you really have to look at to drive your business. And you're only actually doing a few things that make you the money. 5 simple areas that we look at, because everything kind of filters into those 5 areas in your business. More leads, more conversions, more transactions, higher prices, and more profits. The one thing I hear from business owners all the time is like, I want more revenue. Great, but you're missing 2 steps ahead of that. You need to have leads and conversions before you have that transaction for the revenue. Just like in retail business, it doesn't happen until someone walks in the door or clicks on your site to go online to shop. So you need to get the leads going. So that's one of the first things we're going to focus on. Like I said, we usually do 8 strategies in a monthly workshop. We do this complimentary for all small business owners. More than happy to help. Give you a way to get into that one for this month. But these are just the 8 basic areas that we like to focus on, that we hear the most from most small business owners. Is these are the top areas. So the first thing is this one, and we're going to give it to you: how to make advertising work for your small business. Because if I hear one more person say Facebook ads don't work, this kind of ad doesn't work, that kind of ad doesn't work, actually they do. What is making it not work is your message and who you're targeting. So you need to know who you're targeting. One little thing, Dan even brought this up. So this kind of reinforces what Dan was talking about. We use something called a profit growth calculator. So I'm going to just put in some basic numbers just to get us a baseline. So about more leads, how much your conversion ratio is, 25%, gives us a number of sales, how many transactions, interactions you have with your client throughout the year, and your price. I'm going to just put in a basic number of $100 to make things simple. So your revenue is about $250,000, gross margin 25%. So you're probably netting out about $62,500. Yes, this is very simplistic. We can get deeper. This is just a basic model, but we do get into the deep details in each one of these sections. So if businesses grow by 10%, and that's where a lot of coaches play at, and it's very, very obtainable, and they're going to be very happy just by increasing those 5 areas by 10%, improving those 5 areas. So that can bring you up to about a little over $100,000. Now, we like to go a little bit bigger. So we like to play in at least the 50% range. So just by changing your business by 50%, and I hear this all the time from business owners, that's impossible. We can't do that. Well, if you can't think you already can't do it, you already won. You're right, you can't. But there is a way, and I'm going to show you just using a few simple strategies that you could actually implement in your business today that's going to blow that 50% out of the water. Because we think 50% is kind of child's play. So achieving 50%, that's going to transform your business. Think of how it's going to transform your life as well. How exciting is that? I mean, think of all the things you can do with an additional 50% on the bottom line, or even more. Okay, so the keys to major success in marketing. Okay, first thing you have to do is enter the conversation that's taking place in the head of your prospects. What is their problems? Why do they come to your store? Why do they shop online at your place versus someone else? What are they looking for? What are they seeking? You need to get into that conversation. You may like certain products and services in your business, but is that what your clientele really wants? So you got to get into their heads. And one of the easiest places, like Dan mentioned, if you have inventory just sitting on shelves gathering dust, guess what? They voted with their wallet, and they don't like that. So what are they looking for? Get into that conversation, because they have a problem, a need, a want. You are there as the solution provider for that need and want. What is it? And it has to be at the right time. And I'm going to show you what that means here in just a moment. So all of us are the same. There's always 2 things going in our heads all the time, and there's 2 major points. It's, first of all, it's the problems that we have, and we really don't want to have them. And then the other one is, I want the result I have, but I want it, but I don't have it yet. So a lot of times when you're saying, I want that revenue, well, I have a problem I don't want to have that problem anymore. I want more money, right? And so the result is having that more money, and I don't have it. So how do we get there? So we use something called a conversion equation. I have this. It's about very simple. It's how to interrupt, engage, educate, and offer. So that's when I said your Facebook ads are not working, your pay-per-click ads, your newspaper ads, your magazine ads, whatever you're posting, wherever you're advertising and marketing, are you interrupting, engaging, educating, and offering something to your target market. So the interrupt is simple. It's the headline. Get them, like one of my coaches used to tell me, it's like reaching across the table and getting slapped across the face, but not physically. Is it going to set you apart from everyone else? Or do your ads look like every single other ad out there? I like picking on the HVAC industry, air conditioning, heating. All their ads look identical. They all have the same platitudes, the same text. They're getting charged, if it's in print, per letter, per character, yet they are copying and pasting from all the other ads and think that's the way it should be done. No one is interrupting anything. So how to set yourself apart? What are you offering that's something different to your target market than all your competitors? Engage. That's the sub headline. How do you getting them engaged to read more, to take a little bit more action? And then you want to educate them. Why? Because people are looking for information, especially in the days of the internet. People can go shop online. So they're gathering information. And what they're trying to gather is why you? Are they looking for best price? Well, they're actually looking for value over price. But if there's no way to compare you to the next person, then all they have to do is, all the thing they have to compare is price only. So when I hear people, how much, before I even explain what I do, then I know they're a price centric and they may or may not be one of my clients. You got to think, who is your target market? If they're that price centric, if you had to raise your prices, you're going to lose those people. Why? They're only chasing the pennies. They don't care about any value. And then what's your offer for them to take action? It has to be irresistible to make them think like, you got to be real a fool to turn down this offer. So what is your compelling offer to make that happen? So nowadays with touch points, we are getting bombarded everywhere with messaging, all kinds of things, the latest and greatest, every trend, every fad out there. We're just getting bombarded. Knowing that, it's like, how are you staying in front of all this and reaching your true target market? So nowadays it takes anywhere from like 20 to over 100 touch points before someone makes their buying decision. Think about it. When was the last time you saw a fast food ad? Probably about 2 seconds ago if you watch any 30-minute TV program. They're constantly bombarding you. Why? They know for you to get off the couch to go drive through their restaurant, they got to hit you probably 20 to 100 times. That's a lot. But if you use the conversion equation, it reduces those touch points down to about 5 to 12 times to contact them. Why? You're giving some compelling. You're making them keep reading, as they say. That's what you want. Keep the conversation going. And then this one, I don't know how many, almost every business is guilty of it, is the follow-up. Follow-up is key. How are you following up? When someone comes into your store, are you gathering their information to put them on your newsletter list where you can give them offers, specials, information? At one of my retail stores, what we used to do is basically give away something in exchange for their name and their email. And we put them on our newsletter list. They would get one newsletter per month. The newsletter actually provided them content of something related to us, how we can help them improve something at home, but they could do it themselves or go somewhere else. We're giving away our expertise and our content. But then again, we're also staying in front of them every single month. That was more than all my competitors within a 10-mile radius. Another thing, I can offer specials, offers, give them coupons. I can stay in touch with them, answer questions. I am real. I can do this. What are you doing to gather that information so you could stay and follow up with your prospects? This way, you get to position yourself completely different than your competition. How many of you are looking for a car to buy? Eventually, you might be looking now So now you're what they call, we're going to talk about the buyer's journey. So we have now buyers. That's what a majority of all the ads are out there. They want you to take action right now. So if you're looking to buy a car right now, like within the next, say, less than 30 days, you're a now buyer. So now it's coming down to who to buy from. You're probably there and probably have gathered information. But let's say, well, I'm not really in the market for a car right now. I'm not going to look for a car for another, say, 6 months, 9 months, whatever the case may be. Well, let me digress. Sorry. Sometimes the now buyers, here's your offer. So someone like Gary here, his whole thing is just now buyers. So there's no real offer. It's like contact me, contact me, contact me. That's a now buyer. But in the buyer's journey, capturing that email, that their name, I need to get them through that journey. If they're not ready to buy today, I want to be the place where they go to when they are ready. So during this whole time, by putting them on that newsletter and staying in touch with them and giving them information and great content and not selling them all the time, just giving them content. At the bottom, it has specials. It's not selling them, but in the body of the email, I'm giving some tips and tricks that they can use in my area of expertise. So could you. Like Dan mentioned about having more casual apparel. Then you can think, hey, we have casual apparel that's good for these kind of places. Here are the features of it. Could they go and get those casual apparel items at another store? Yeah. But no one else is talking to them the way you're talking to them. You're staying in front of them. So what they're doing is gathering information. So I want to be there during that buyer's journey while they're gathering this information, thinking, who do I buy from? And why should I buy from them or shouldn't I? I want to take price out of the equation as well. I want to show them the value with me is greater than with all my competitors. So I'm going to take them through this buyer's journey. Here's some other examples. Here's a chiropractor that we worked with before. The only positive thing I can say about him, well, it's a great headshot, but they at least put 2 locations down instead of the typical 1-800 number, and then you don't know where it really gets answered. So at least they have 2 locations. But there's no offer. It's not call us, not anything else. This is all above the fold, as you see. So most of the people, when they look at a website, they're looking above the fold. So where's their call to action? Where's their offer? Just looks like, okay, if I need a chiropractor and my back's or my neck or body is just messed up, I'm going to be calling the first person, whoever answers and can get me in. That wins it because I'm a now buyer. But if I'm looking at possibly one day using acupuncture or chiropractic care, I'm going to do my research. So there's really no offer here. Nothing compelling me to do anything with them. We also have this conversion equation evaluator. We give this out at a lot of conferences, events, and it lets you look at your own material, your website, your marketing material, whatever it is, in an objective view. And the whole point of it is to see how effective your marketing is. So a great example of this is like, I have a website. I looked at mine. I ran it through the evaluator. I actually had 2 of my fellow coaches do the same thing. And our scores were pretty much the same, about a 1.8. So if you're below 3, you have some problems. So I knew I had problems. So I have been in the process of building a whole brand new website. So having the new website, I had other coaches look at it and evaluate me. Now I'm getting a 4.8, 4.9, just by looking in some simple areas. This way, it can give you the opinion. It's not your opinion. You should always do it on yourself, but give it to other people and have them evaluate you on just some of these basic areas. Are you interrupting, engaging? Are you educating? And what's your offer? And then the overall look of everything, because it has to be appealing. Here's a quick case study for a child psychologist. This was his whole offer. He was doing pay-per-click ads, sending everyone to his website. And on his website, as you can see, he does many things. So he was trying to be everything to a lot of different areas. So you could see he's specializing in emotionally disturbed children, behavioral problems, everything else. His whole call to action was call me for a free consultation. Now, if we have all seen children or probably have them that has had that emotional breakdown, usually in a store, grocery store. But if they're consistently doing that, you want a solution now. I don't want to set up a consultation to be sold to. I want a solution now because that's the need. So he focused on those key areas. What we did is actually take one of those areas so we can focus on just one of them and turn it into a landing page because we want to capture that information in exchange for giving them some kind of information. So we changed his video. So now he's given the video. If you sign up now, I can give you some quick 60-second lessons how to take care of that screaming and belligerent child right now. Well, if you're a parent and you have a solution in front of you that's going to take 60 seconds to solve, you're in. You're not going to read a long book or go through hundreds and hundreds of pages on the website trying to find your solution. This is targeted right to what you're looking for right here, right now. So even if my child is not acting up at this moment, I'm more than willing to give up my name and email to get that information. So when it does happen, I'm prepared and it's a lot easier to find. The doctor also gets to use his expertise in showcasing it just for this one area. So his headline became interrupting. Are you sick and tired of yelling and screaming, belligerent attitude of your child? Well, if that's you, then you already captured my information versus the last one was kind of like, hey, call me. And then we had to move into like, what is the next thing is the sub headline, the action. What am I going to give you? Here's how. Instant way to restore peace and quiet in your home. So here was his old one. Call me, get that free consultation. I'm trying to be everything to all these 9 people. I'm not going to get into his video script. His video script now was basically, instead of saying, call me for the free consultation, it turned into, hey, if you're struggling and you need help right now, put your name and email in. I'm going to send you a video, a short video to solve that problem right here, right now. Just think how that would separate your business from all your competitors just by giving a solution right here, right now to someone who has that now problem. It's phenomenal. So like I mentioned, he had the free consultation before. Now I'm capturing the information. Why? Because I want to set it up on a drip campaign. So even if they're not ready to talk to me today, I want to stay in front of them and give them more information because I probably have a lot of different tips and strategies. And let's say this isn't the strategy for them. Maybe they had, they wanted to go to like maybe behavioral problems or teen pregnancy. Well, if they opt out or don't fill this in, it'll bounce them back to my main website or the doctor's main website where they can choose another solution that may be more appropriate. So I'm finding the solutions for my clientele and giving them a quick solution for it or the problems. So I'll give you some quick numbers. Normally, he was getting about 300 pay-per-click ads a month. 10% of them were calling in to get the consultation. 3 actually made the consultation. Well, these kind of doctors are usually at 100%. So we're going to give them all there. And a typical 1% conversion rate, everyone says that's fantastic. But then what happens if someone looks at this, it's not for them, they click off, that's the end of story. They will never come back and revisit. They're done. Just like someone who drives by your store and doesn't take a second look to even come in, or there's no way to engage with them at any other point. So how are you engaging with these people? Going now with the landing pages, still doing the pay-per-clicks. We just kept the leads at the same because it actually did increase, but we want to keep everything kind of the same just for keeping it realistic. Now 20% opted in, requested the offer. 10% of those, keeping consistent with his other numbers, said yes, let's have the meeting. They became patients. Average sales 800. His average sale was a little bit higher than that. We just want to stay conservative. So that's another $2,400 a month increase just from like changing from a website to a landing page. That was it. But annually, that led to $28,800 in annual revenue increase. So by having them opt in, I'm taking them through that buyer's journey. I want to be there when they need me and my services. What can you do in your business to have them go through the buyer's journey with you? Remember, you have seasons in a lot of your businesses. So every season is a new journey. You're taking them through that journey. Hey, winter's coming up. I live in Phoenix. When it comes winter time, and our winter time is different than most people's winter time, the jackets, there's not a lot of jackets available for sale, and they get blown out immediately. Why? Because we need it when it drops below, like in the 70s, believe it or not. But in the summer, they start promoting summer wear, usually around January, February. Why? Because they're going to blow it all out before the summer comes. It's coming. So you got to know your market, and how are you keeping in front of them and talking to them. Another great way to build your business is joint venture partnerships. So it's two or more businesses. We kind of just mentioned this. Whatever you're good at, you can always find someone else who also has the same kind of tribe, if you will, same kind of market, but different products or services than you. But both of you together, it makes a complementary service. So find joint venture partners that can work with you on many different areas. So when I had my retail store, I actually had a lot of joint venture partners who were in other areas. So on certain materials that I needed from my store, my cost of goods. So I found other related businesses who use the same kind of materials, and we came in together and bought in bulk, which lowered all of our cost of goods sold. Not only that, we started cross promoting each other because we had the same kind of customer base, but different products and services that can help our same client. So we started working together on joint venture strategies and how to build more value. And then we even did some package deals, which is even better. So a quick example is a florist. I know we have a lot of guys on here, but a florist is a simple example. So we're also going to talk about a typical event chain. So when someone gets married, so this is the process of how it kind of goes when someone is getting married, and we're going to be the florist. So nothing starts unless someone buys the engagement ring. No engagement ring, it does not start the event chain. So they're at the very beginning of this whole event chain. After the ring gets bought, well, I'm sure if weddings are so complex, she probably wants to get a wedding planner. Some do, some don't, but that's a normal chain. You got to book the place, right? So that's probably coming up. Where is the location you're going to have your ceremony? And I'm sure she has an idea where that is. You got to find the venue for the reception because those get booked up really fast. And then, of course, she has to try on every dress in your whole area and then some. And then now they're going to need flowers, center arrangements, everything. And then after use, probably the wedding cake, because that's very important. Printers, you can have after that, like limo drivers, DJs, honeymoon vacation planners, and so forth. We're just going to keep this simple. But knowing who's in your event chain up and bottom is very crucial to find out who your joint venture partnership is. Believe it or not, one of my joint ventures partners was one of my vendors, my suppliers, who I bought materials from. Why? They were a great partner because I knew I needed them, but they also can refer business to me because I did what they didn't do and they did what I didn't do. So we actually became joint venture partners, and it worked out very well with even my own suppliers. So the event chain, think of all the people who are downstream from you or above you in this case. Who's in front of you that it's not going to get to you? So these people can actually refer business to you. Don't you think the wedding planner is going to get asked, who's a good florist? Where can I get a dress? Where's a good place to get married? Yes. You need to have that joint venture partner with that wedding planner who can refer business to you. And then don't you think after someone comes to you, they might ask, who do you know who does a great wedding cake? Yes. So now you can refer people below you. And a good joint venture partnership too, if you could just get one of those people to refer one piece of business to them, it's worth paying a referral fee to them. So you're going to help their business grow. Of course, they're going to help your business grow. And don't you think if you refer someone, a client that just bought wedding flowers from you, that you could refer them to someone else and they could pay you a referral fee? Absolutely. So we want to put it in some basic numbers. So just think of it like a wedding cake is, you know, $3,000. If you got a 10% referral fee off of that, well, it could equate to $3,600 a year if you just get one of those a month. That's not bad for just referring someone who you know, like, and trust. Same thing goes, what happens if they send business to you? How much more business can you make off of it giving away 10%? It's well worth it. So having this joint venture partnership, this event chain, if you will, can be very, very lucrative to your business. I mean, if you add it all up, just these really conservative numbers, that's 48,000, almost 41,000. Now, here's one thing that we did do with a florist is how to attract other prospects. So they became the focal point of that whole event chain, because it doesn't start without the jeweler. So that didn't work for the jeweler because it has to start there. It had to kick it all off. So what this florist did is create a website and a pay-per-click ad campaign on a couple different social media platforms. They created this brochure, 5 things every bride should know to avoid disaster on their wedding day. Where did they get that information? From their joint venture partners. Now they go to wedding shows showing their florists. They also are handing out this brochure. Well, then everyone's going through their website, their landing page, giving them their name and email address to grab this little brochure. What the florist did then is distribute those leads to the appropriate people in the event chain, which actually triggered referral fees back to them. So they kind of became the focal point of the joint venture partnership. Just think what you could do as well in your business to become a focal point as well. This is what we always say, hey, once you get to a certain point with a good joint venture partners below and above you, then you can start looking at this. Okay, Dan definitely touched on this, how to downsell your way to wealth. Okay, just downselling is offering another product or service at just a lower price. So if I can't get you in the Lamborghini today, maybe I can get you in the Tesla. I can't get you in the Tesla, maybe I can get you in the Chrysler. Can't get you in the Chrysler, maybe I can get you in the Yugo. I'm still going to have you buy something. I'm just going to give you an alternative solution at a lower price. So it might not have all the bells and whistles. A great thing that even Dan touched on is packages. I love doing this in a lot of retail businesses. It's like put together a package deal where your margin is higher, but to the value perceived by your client, the buyer, is much higher. You can also do this with joint venture partners. And you can also put in lower quality items as well. So things you want to blow out, instead of the markdowns, how to bundle it all together with something else. And strip down offerings. So like I said, if you can't get into this product, take them to the next one that's very similar, but maybe the quality isn't as great, but it's a little bit less, just a little bit less price, maybe because they're price sensitive, but you want to get them into something. And then first time buyer specials, it works in many different areas. I did this in one of my retail businesses. First time I gave a discount off, but I also did a referral program, which actually paid off very, very well. So give them that little first time special offer. Get them in your store, get them going, get them becoming part of your clientele. Great example of this, we all can relate to it, is a health club. Health club always tries to sell their 1-year packages. Well, if you're not open for the 1-year package, well, let's get you in a 90-day health makeover. So it's just 90 days. Well, you don't like that. Well, how about a 1-week trial membership? It's much lower. It has more restricted. You can't go to the classes and all these things because they know if they just get you to walk in their door on a regular basis, they got you. So that's all they're trying to do is downsell their way into getting everything for you. So like the florist, we did this with one of the florists, so dozen roses, so whether or not $50 anymore, but we just kept it as a simple example. So if he can do a downsell and maybe do, just a different option, that actually added money to their top line as well. Another thing that we also did with the floors is actually create a program. So we called it the guide program. So the guy would come in and do his monthly subscription. And at certain times of the year, it was all on file, all pre-packaged, that an arrangement would go out to the spouse, significant other, mother, whoever it may be, with a little card. The customer would sit there and write all these cards, Mother's Day, anniversary, birthday, give them to the florist. The florist would then have this package to send this out. So the guy, if he forgot, don't worry, they got you covered. The florist took care of all that. You were always a hero in it. And they did it as a monthly program, which actually helped their revenue out throughout the year. So there's other ways like subscription-based models that you can also use for your downsells. Okay, the last one we're going to talk about today is a drip campaign. I kind of mentioned gathering all this information. We already talked about 80% of the sales occur between the 5th and 12th point of contact. So the drip campaign is basically, like I was mentioning, gathering their information, giving them information and content on a regular and predetermined basis. All you're doing is giving them the content. You're staying in front of them. So we did this for a sunroom company. They gave away the entire guide on their landing page in exchange for their name and their email. Then every month, they actually took one of these benefits and they actually used a direct mail campaign on an oversized postcard. So every month, someone got one of these postcards just focusing on one of those little areas. But they knew that no one would read the entire guide, but the guide did what it was supposed to do, was capture the information. So now these people are on a drip campaign, receiving that one benefit every month in a postcard. It was very economical to them, and it paid off massively for them. Same thing with the child psychologist. Remember, we grabbed their information in exchange for that quick 60-second video to help that mom, and it's usually the mom and the dad, solve the problem. So we got those 300 leads per month, people opting in. So 300 leads saw it, 60 people opted in, 6 of them became clients. So that means 54 of them were not his clients yet. And here's what I mean by yet. We put them in a drip campaign, giving them one strategy every month to work on. So even if you got 2 additional clients a month, I mean, that ended up being one more client out of the drip campaign that's all automated. You're not even touching it. So if you're going to compound this, that means 300 people are coming in there, looking at it every month, and consistently people are opting in. This also factors out those who became clients. And at a certain point, he's going to be too busy. So give you an idea, for a year, 360 prospects turns into 156 clients. That's a lot. So out of all those new clients, he would have never have gotten those without that drip campaign. He doesn't have to proactively go seek them out. Just think, if you had your clients on a proactive drip campaign, giving them that information, how many new customers you can get just by them opting in. Well, that only gave him 72 new clients in 12 months. That was a lot more than he can handle, which is a good problem to have. So the drip campaign, as you could see, generating 30 new clients per month. That's a lot for a child psychologist, because it'll be multiple sessions. So he couldn't obviously handle all these kind of things. But just think, what kind of drip campaign could you use? What can you give away? A guide, an offer, giving away some content to educate your target market and giving it to them on a regular basis, so they stay in your funnel, you stay front of mind, and they think you're the expert in that area. And when it's time for them to buy, then they're thinking of you. So that was the 5-step profit formula. And I've got one more here. Upsell, cross sell. Dan actually mentioned this. How to upsell. Did you know that more people will buy from you if they're just even offered? It's 34% of prospects will buy an additional product or service from you if you offer them at the point of purchase. Just ask. So the greatest way to say upsell, and this is one of the greatest lines ever, would you like to supersize it? We've all heard it. Would you like to get the extra large? Okay, cross sell. Would you like an apple pie with your Happy Meal? It's complimentary. We've heard these before. McDonald's is a master of it. Restaurants, just by doing some simple things, even in restaurants, we had them bring around. Was overseeing a restaurant in one of my businesses. We just had a cart go around with the appetizers. Just every now and then, just taking it around. Same thing with desserts. People always asked, "What's that? What's that?" before they even ordered. So we hooked them in with appetizers just visually, and same thing with desserts. And we even gave a little samples of our dessert. It was amazing. Our meals were big, and people still got a dessert because we took around that dessert cart and gave them a little taster, one little bite. That's all it took. And they would buy dessert. That's where our margins were. So the taste and reciprocity. So these are easy ways to upsell. Hey, would you like to have dessert? You always get that in there early. Hey, we have some great appetizers today. By also educating your staff on what they need to sell and what they need to focus on, because people will listen to their personal recommendations. And Dan touched on this. By educating your staff on what they need to sell, to upsell and cross-sell and downsell, will actually lead to an increase in revenue. And of course, your bottom line. So start moving all the merchandise. It's not moving out at all. And then that was the last strategy for us, Dan. I'm going to get to right to the end here. I think it was one more, but there we go. So as Dan mentioned, if you'd like to get a hold of me as well, I'm always willing to just get on a quick introduction call with you. It's not a sales call. Let's learn about you and your business. What can we do to help you? Because I do have, as Dan mentioned, some proprietary software where you can uncover anywhere from $10,000 to over $100,000 of hidden annualized revenue. Not only that, then we come up with a plan to get all that. And whatever we can do to help you. And we also have a workshop coming up every month. And for that, it's complimentary. We're showing 8 strategies. We showed you 4 here, plus 4 more. Give you a workbook. We get a little bit deeper into everything. But that's at bizcoachsteve.com/workshop.
Terrific. Well, you know, I did get a couple. There are a couple of things in the chat here. A couple of questions. Let me just throw these at you really quick. Okay. Someone wrote that they love the interrupt, engage, educate, and offer stuff. They said, how do we get more touches with customers that don't seem cold or automated?
Yeah, the thing is, if they don't take any action into opting into whatever you have, then there's the headline, the message itself, the interrupt isn't resonating with them. So it didn't resonate with them enough to take any action to opt in or come into the store or anything like that.
Oh, that makes total sense. That's good.
So give you an example. It's like, I had a custom picture frame retail store. Across the street was Michael's, always giving away their coupons because they have a gargantuan ad budget. So they're giving away coupons 50% off for custom picture framing. So even after their 50% off coupon, it was almost the same price as mine. But my quality was higher and better, and I could do it a lot faster. So I've made a giant sign, "We fix Michael's mistakes," because I knew their number one problem with their customers was their mistakes. I was flooded with redos on framing, which led to about 20% of my business was redos of things I didn't do. Michael's did. Michael's came over very upset, and they threatened with a restraining order and everything else. I go, "Can you prove to me that you guys don't make mistakes?" And they said no. And I go, "Then that's what I do. I fix your mistakes. That's why I'm here." Wow. And we're competing across the street from each other. And you're a national brand, and I'm just mom and pop.
Wow.
And I'm kicking your butt.
That's amazing.
So that's my interrupt.
Here's another one. What do you expect for an open rate or click-through rate for a retail store?
Most of them, they say it's like at least a 1% click through.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're actually giving them a content and giving them something in exchange for that information, it does go up. I know one place, it was an auto, believe it or not, auto repair, and they gave away a simple little manual, one sheet, just 10 things you could do right now by yourself and under $50 to fix up your car and do a little preventive maintenance on. Just simple, basic stuff. But having that, they gave it away in exchange. Their click-through rate was like 45%. It was just
Wow,
like for a one
that's good.
sheet of
That's
things like check your pressure in your tires. And then they say, well, here's what they suggest for tire pressure. Who knows
wow.
this stuff?
Yeah, that's a good
It's
one. Okay, one more for you, Steve.
mhm.
Um, this person writes, I have trouble getting my staff to upsell and cross sell. Do you have any advice for how to get them to do that?
Yep. So it took McDonald's 20 seconds to train each employee on, would you like fries with that? That is a $3.8 billion line, and it's on McDonald's balance sheet because they track that
Wow,
upsell. Would you like fries with
wow.
that is $3.8 billion. Not a bad upsell. One thing is, we've seen this in many businesses, not just necessarily retail, it's the staff. It's how, if they're not willing to do it, then it's time to find the right people to get on the bus. Because what else are they not doing in your business to help it grow? And maybe they're
Right.
not seeing the bigger picture, and you can explain this to them. It's like, listen, these are the people who are paying your salary. They're the ones who are taking care of all of us. If you don't do this for them, because we're servicing them, they're not going to come back. Then there's no salary, no job. I had explained to
Good point.
some of my employees like that. Once they start realizing that the customer was everything, and without the customer, nothing else mattered, then they started upselling or cross-selling. But I had to put it in terms that they can understand.
In the world of hiring people for retail, we always say they have to be outgoing and willing, and the rest is trainable.
That's
None
it.
of us popped out of the womb knowing everything about fashion or fish tanks or running shoes or any of that kind of stuff, right? That's all stuff you learn. But if if they're outgoing and willing and are willing to be communicative, then that's that. And it's hard to hire people now. A lot of people are telling me that they're having struggles
Yeah.
finding good people. And you just got to look every place where good service is offered, I guess, and then just talk to them about, have your business cards with you. Just say, look, I'm looking for people just like you. So it's not a hardcore, I'm stealing an employee from someplace else,
Yeah.
right? Nobody wants to do that. But, those people usually have like-minded friends and they can find other people and that kind of thing. Well, your presentation was outstanding, Steve. I took
Thanks.
a ton of notes myself. So thank you for all of that. And your regular workshops are definitely, a valuable thing, and people definitely should be tuning into those for sure. So, all right. Well, those are both of our presentations, and we got it done in within the time, Steve. How about that?
Yeah. We got this down. We're here to help.
Exactly. Exactly. So I hope that you guys reach out to both Steve and I for any advice we can give you to help grow your business. That's what gets us out of bed every single day, is helping people like you and helping retailers. And Steve works with retailers, but works a lot with other businesses too. Certainly tell your friends about that. I hope to be in touch with you very both up. They're free, so it's not like it's something you can't afford. And I can guarantee you that both of those free offers are going to help you in your business and help you in your life. And what more could you ask? So, Steve, thank you again for organizing
Great.
this and putting this together.
And
And I
thanks,
hope to do more
Dan.
of these with you again very soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for everyone showing up. I hope everyone has a great day.